Welcome to Psyche Tips number 27. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of deception and uncovering the psychology behind why we lie. The human mind is complex, and the reasons behind lying are as varied as the people who tell them. By understanding the underlying psychology, we can begin to unravel this complicated behavior. So buckle up and get ready for a no-holds-barred exploration of the truth about lying. Now let's talk about self-preservation, lying to survive. It's about protecting yourself from harm, from pain, from consequences. Think about it. A child lies about breaking a vase to avoid punishment. A student cheats on a test to avoid a failing grade. We learn early on that lying can be a shield, a way to deflect blame and avoid responsibility. But here's the thing. Living in a constant state of fear and deception takes a toll. It erodes trust, damages relationships, and ultimately leaves you feeling empty and alone. So how do we break free from this destructive pattern? It starts with honesty, with yourself and with others. It's about facing your fears, taking responsibility for your actions, and building genuine connections based on trust and authenticity. The lubricant of lies. Now let's talk about social harmony. We live in a society, folks, and that means navigating complex relationships and social dynamics. Sometimes a little white lie can go a long way in smoothing those interactions. You tell your friends you love her new haircut even if you don't. You compliment your coworker's presentation even if you found it boring. These are social lubricants in power mind. They're not meant to deceive or manipulate, but rather to maintain harmony and avoid unnecessary conflict. But there's a fine line between a harmless white lie and a manipulative deception. It's about being mindful of your intentions and being authentic in your relationships, while also being respectful of social norms. The illusion of perfection. Let's talk about self-enhancement. We live in a world obsessed with image, with success, with portraying the perfect life. We exaggerate our accomplishments on our resume. We post carefully curated photos on social media, showcasing our best selves, our happiest moments. The problem with this constant self-promotion is that it's exhausting. It's a never-ending cycle of trying to keep up appearances, of comparing yourself to others, of feeling like you're never good enough. And it prevents you from forming genuine connections because you're so busy hiding behind a mask of perfection. So how do we break free from this need for validation? It starts with self-acceptance. It's about being authentically yourself, even if it means not being perfect. Now, let's talk about the dark side of lying, manipulation, and control. This is about using deception to gain power over others, to get what you want, regardless of the cost. We're talking about con artists, abusers, narcissists, individuals who prey on others' vulnerabilities for their own selfish gain. These individuals are master manipulators, skilled at twisting the truth, spinning narratives, and exploiting others' weaknesses. They leave a trail of destruction in their wake, shattering lives and leaving their victims feeling broken and betrayed. This is not about harmless white lies. This is about calculated, intentional deception designed to harm and exploit. If you find yourself in a relationship with someone who exhibits these traits, it's crucial to seek help. You deserve to be treated with respect and honesty, and you don't have to navigate this alone. The lies we tell ourselves. Now let's talk about something a little different. The lies we tell ourselves. Your memories aren't perfect recording devices. They're malleable, susceptible to distortion, influenced by your biases and emotions. Sometimes, without even realizing it, you twist the truth in your own minds. You remember an argument differently than your partner. You recall events in a way that paints you in a more favorable light. This isn't always intentional deception. Sometimes it's a subconscious process, a way for your mind to cope with difficult emotions or cognitive dissonance. But the consequences can be just as damaging. When we live in a world of our own making, we hinder our own growth and prevent ourselves from forming healthy relationships. So how do we combat this self-deception? It starts with self-awareness. It's about being willing to examine your own biases, to question your own perceptions, and to be open to the possibility that you don't always have all the answers. The mask of conformity. Let's talk about fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not fitting in. This fear drives you to conform, to suppress your true self. You crave acceptance, belonging, the feeling of being part of the group. But you lose yourself, becoming chameleon, blending into the background. Overcoming this fear starts with self-acceptance, and recognizing true belonging comes from being yourself. When deception becomes a way of life. Now let's talk about a more extreme form of lying, habitual lying, also known as pathological lying. This is when deception becomes a way of life, empower mind, a deeply ingrained pattern of behavior. These individuals lie compulsively, often for no apparent reason, even when the truth would serve them better. Their lies can be elaborate, fantastical, even bizarre. They may spin tales of grand adventures, invent illnesses, or fabricate relationships. This type of lying can be incredibly damaging, both to the individual and to those around them. It erodes trust, destroys relationships, and can even have legal consequences. If you recognize these patterns in yourself or someone you know, it's important to seek professional help. Let's talk about the lies we use to protect ourselves, the psychological defense mechanisms that shield us from pain and fear. These lies aren't always conscious. They're often subconscious coping mechanisms, ways for your mind to protect you from emotional overload. We deny the severity of a loved one's illness. We rationalize our own bad behavior. We suppress painful memories, pushing them deep down into the recesses of our minds. These are all forms of self-deception, ways to avoid confronting difficult emotions. And sometimes these defense mechanisms can be helpful, at least in the short term. They can give us time to process difficult emotions, to cope with trauma, to gradually face reality. But when they become your default mode, when you refuse to acknowledge reality, they prevent you from healing, from growing, from living authentically. The key is to recognize these defense mechanisms for what they are: temporary coping strategies, not long-term solutions. It's about being willing to face your fears, to acknowledge your pain, and to seek support when you need it. A call for authenticity. So there you have it. The truth about lying is that it's complicated, but by understanding the psychology behind it, you can begin to unravel its complexities and make more conscious choices about your own behavior. Remember, honesty is a process, not a destination. It's about striving for authenticity in your interactions, being mindful of your intentions, and holding yourself accountable for your actions. Thanks for watching. You have Empower Mind.